Hello everyone and welcome to a new YouTube series on becoming a balanced player. My name is Flavor and today we're going to dive into the world of Rocket League. Rocket League is a soccer game where you have a couple of cars on each side. You can only go forward, back, left, right, but you also have boost, so you can shoot up into the air and hit the ball really high. So it's an awesome game. Definitely check it out if you haven't already. So in here we're going to go over a new player. One of their very first games against a computer bot, and just explain a couple of things on how the game is played and show some tips on what you can do as a new player to really get into the game. So ivyharleston is our player in question, and he's playing against Heater, and he's going to heat this game up. So a couple of things. First is you want to be able to move your car around. So you got your steering, and then you want to make sure you know where the ball is once you have your steering. So until you get to a certain rating, you're really not going to be able to find players who can control their cars well enough to actually make plays by launching into the air, which is called an aerial. Also, going off the wall is somewhat difficult since it disorients your sense of direction. So we're not also going to go over the wall shots. So we're just going to mainly focus on ground play, something that you'd see at the very lowest levels of Rocket League until maybe high bronze or low silver. So at the start here, Ivy's computer isn't the best, so it's perfectly understandable that you're seeing the game kind of in slow motion. You notice at the bottom of the screen we see about 30 seconds, and then at the top we see about 40 seconds, so the real time is not matching up with the replay time. At the start of this video, it's a lot of just kind of moving around, trying to figure out, get a feel of the car's motions, get it into the air, and that's all well and good. And definitely something you should be doing as a new player. So one thing is locating the ball. If you'll notice in this position, I had annotation software, but it is currently not working, so I'll try and get that ready for the next video. But you'll see that the ball is, of course, a giant sphere in most modes. There's other modes, but we'll focus on this one for now. So this giant sphere, if you project it to a 2D plane, you'll get a circle, which is what this white ellipse is, but we're looking at it from a very oblong angle, so it looks like an ellipse. But it is a circle, and it always is directly underneath the ball. And so when you don't know where the ball is, when you're in these kinds of positions, you want to look for that little circle on the ground, which indicates that the ball is directly above that point. And then if you can, try and angle your car so that when it bounces off of your car, it'll go in the direction that you want it to. It is a game of physics, so very similarly, pool players or billiards players, they will look at the position of the pool balls and they'll say, I need to hit the ball at this exact angle in order to get it to fly in the direction I want it to. So what direction is that? Wherever you contact the ball will always go in the opposite direction of where you contact it. So let's do a little bit of fly out action here. So if you were to make contact with the ball from this angle and your car makes contact right here, the ball is going to launch in this direction, which is exactly what Heater did, and you'll notice that there's the trajectory line, or the line where the ball follows. So Heater must have hit the ball precisely right here in order for it to go. It didn't matter if Heater was coming in from the top and hit it there, it's just not going to have very much power when it goes over in this direction. Likewise, he can come at it from this direction, and it still will have more power, but not full power as if you're coming straight on the ball. So wherever you make contact with the ball is going to go in the opposite direction. So you can actually get shots where you are on a different side of the ball than where you launched off of. And that indicates you're going to be banking the shot or getting an angle shot in some direction. So here, Ivy, I wouldn't recommend going up the walls just yet. With this level of play, of course, it looks like you're still messing with some of the controls of the game. So it might be like a practice game. But then again, I don't think you had a replay ready for this, so we're just going to go over this. And of course, if you're more comfortable, you can always send me another replay, and we'll do a replay analysis of that one as well. So, of course, you are the blue player, so you're going to be in the blue goal. So you want to make sure that you are defending the blue goal. So if the ball is right here, it has any number of possibilities of going into the bottom left, top right, bottom right, or anywhere in the middle. So you want to position your car in such a way that the goal is defended. So you probably want to start from right about here on the ground, maybe here, Or once you start getting better, you might want to ride up the wall, and what that does is conserves boost. Because if from here you have to jump and then use boost to get to a higher angle to hit the ball, whereas if you ride up the wall, you can ride all the way up the wall and not expend any boost whatsoever to make that play. But for now, we're going to focus on getting in net and then getting the angle to hit the ball out of the net. So the best place to be is between the ball and the net, because if you're in the way, the ball can't reach without going through your car, and we know through physics that's not possible. So if you can get your car positioned in front of the ball, then it won't be able to get into the goal. So from here, now you're positioned behind the ball, and it looks like you almost shot it into your own net from that angle. So it would have been better if you were on offense to make that kind of shot, since you were behind the ball, than if you were on defense. So once again, going up the wall, just experiencing that a little bit, no big deal, but try and limit the amount of wall play that you do at the start. Of course, you can always get exposure whenever, and this is precisely that case where Heater didn't have his goal defended. So you're able to get that hit into the opponent's net. And just a missed kickoff. The NPCs, the computers, are pretty good at hitting their kickoffs square on, so unless you're at one of the 5 corners, or let's see, there's 5 different locations where you can start on your kickoff. So let me see if I can get just 1/2 into play here. So from here you have the ball, the 5 kickoff positions. You have one on the left, it's just behind this boost pad. So you'll start, collect this boost pad, and get into the ball. Likewise, on the right, start here, collect this boost pad, run to the ball. And then you've got 3 back here. You've got one on the left, one on the right, and then one in the back center, just behind this boost pad. And so you have those 5 starting positions. The 2 side positions, if the NPCs, like Heater, go straight from the side positions, they'll whack it over into some of the corners and you're safe. But from these 3 positions, if they just go straight on, the ball's rolling directly into your net. So those are the positions where you want to be careful, and you want to be behind the ball when you get the hit. So wait, a little bit too far forward. Let's redo that play. Let's talk about the angle of the shot from this perspective. Still too far forward. It could just be the replay. Due to the latency, it's not able to stay that frame. Or maybe I'm just slow. So from here, Heater looks like he went slightly into the left side of the ball. And Ivy also went into the left side of the ball. So each of the cars is going to start ricocheting the ball off of the other car. And the ball is going to fly in some direction. So if Heater hit it from here, Ivy hit it from here, then the ball's pretty much got only one place to go, and that's straight up. Now, it could go up into one of the sides, depending on who got what angles on the attack. If you hit the ball pretty low, it'll go straight up. If you hit the ball pretty high, it's likely that both cars are going to actually bounce off the ball, and the ball's going to stay relatively in place. And that's when you'll start to see in different games the ball, after both players collide, the ball just moves slowly in one direction. And usually the second player will follow up and be just behind. So Ivy would be here, the second player would be hanging around out here, Heater's out hitting the ball, so the second player would be around here, and wherever the ball hits. So if it's a slight hit out this way, slight hit out this way, the second player is going to zoom in, use all their boost, and slam the ball toward the opposing net, try and get control, and try and prevent the players who are hitting the ball from making up any follow-up plays. So from this angle, notice that both players are actually quite high on the ball. So let's actually slow it down and see how this plays out. So from these angles, it looks like the ball might end up slightly to the right, but it's not going to go very far. And notice how it bounced about 800 times. And in those 800 bounces, the cars were just bouncing off the ball on and off. So let's come back off, and you can see the ball barely rolled anywhere. Where are we? Here we go. So the ball didn't really go very far at all, and it just kind of rolled off to a side because both players hit it in such a way where they're kind of killing the momentum. They're killing each other through the ball and kind of slamming into each other, if that makes some sense. So the ball just rolls off, and in this position it's 1v1. so there's no alternate players to worry about. So you just want to start worrying about your position and where your car is located. So this is an exhibition game, so there's a couple of mutators. So one of them is, of course, infinite boost, and there's also potentially low gravity or things like that. So don't worry too much about them. You're just trying to get your car behind the ball to hit your opponent's net. So right there is a demolition. If you are going Mach speed and you hit an opponent with the front of your car, their car will explode. So once again, ceiling play, wall play, not something I'd recommend for a newer player. Notice that the ball already was rolling in way back in this position, right off that hit precisely. So if we can kind of speed it up, let's see, 200%. The ball just rolls in, and jumps in. So you just hit it once off the wall. There's no need to really go any further than that. And then I think here something died, and 2 goals are scored with the camera locked like this. Again, it's just a bot, so anything could happen, and it doesn't really matter much. But still, in an actual game, games are very typically won or lost by a single goal, and frequently they do go to overtime. So, if you happen to be away from your keyboard or away from your controller for even 5 seconds, and you should be the one hitting the kickoff, which means you should be interfering with the ball right at the start of a play, and you're not there, the opponent is going to rush to the ball, hit it first, and potentially score a goal in less than 2 seconds, and the clock is just going to sit there. And now your opponents are up a goal just because you had to go away from your keyboard for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, something like that. In the middle of a play, something similar could happen. You could be the next person to make a goal or make a save, and that's not very good. So right here I want to show locating the ball. So the ball now kind of zooms away from the camera a little bit, and it's difficult to try and track the ball. So right here, if you'll notice, there is a vertical line coming down from the ball showing the outer ring of the ball, which is this giant circle. In addition to that circle, there is an inner circle that's comprised of these kind of like crosshairs looking thicker white lines. That indicates the height. So what you notice is when the ball is really high, there's just going to be kind of a center point indicating that it is way too high to locate. But as the ball comes down, this circle is going to enlarge, and you'll start seeing bigger and bigger. Once it reaches the outside, then the ball is on the ground. And so you'll notice that now the circle is getting smaller and smaller because it's going up. Now it's getting larger and larger because it's coming back down. It's almost on the outskirts, which means it's right here, and there's the ball. So that's how you can tell, even without looking at the ball, where the ball is located, and you can try and position your car appropriately. So in this position, let's come back there. Ivy, you want to try and get the ball away from your own net. So if the ball is here and your net's here, you want to be somewhere in between. So if you're angled so that your car is right about here when the ball lands, the ball is going to bounce off your car and drive off to the left. So you want to try and get to the right side, or the goal side of this ball. So what happens here is, looks like go a little bit too far past, and when you go too far past, the ball ends up bouncing back toward your own net. So let's take a look at that from the director's perspective. So Heater knocks it up the wall, it goes higher, little dots in the center get closer together, and then the ball starts coming down, the dots get further apart, but you're on the wrong side of the ball, and so it comes right back toward your own goal. And the opponent missed that, but essentially it's what's called an open net. You could just hit the ball directly at the net, and there shouldn't be anybody in the way. There's no defenders, so it's considered open. So you want to try and position yourself when on defense between the ball and your own goal. Now, of course, at higher levels, there's different positions that you want to be in. You want to also have some momentum, because players will not just be able to hit the ball accurately, they'll also be able to hit the ball with power. And once you start seeing opponents get some power on the ball, that's when you have to be wary about your momentum, because they can hit it with so much power that you physically cannot save the entire goal all at once. So if you're located, say, at this corner, and the opponent is right about where you are right now, Ivy, and the ball was in front of you, you could hit it with a lot of power up into this corner, and there's no way for the opponent to be able to drive, double jump, and boost to be able to get that ball before it ends up in the net. So once it comes to later on, you also want to have momentum, and that's also when positioning will start to become important. So until those times, you could probably reach platinum without much knowledge of that. Most of the ways to improve up until platinum are mostly through what's called mechanics, and that is just your ability to move the controller or press the keys on the keyboard or however you play, your ability to be able to manipulate and move the car how you want. So that was actually a pretty good shot. So you were behind the ball, and you shot it directly where you needed, which was the opponent's net. So try and position behind the ball whenever possible. Locate the ball. Later on, you're going to start learning about camera settings, camera angles, things like that. Oh yeah, some wall play, but if you're not comfortable with moving your car, then it's going to be difficult to go up a wall and be able to hit the ball with any sort of semblance of power or accuracy. So you could still get some lucky shots. I'm not saying don't go for them, but your opponents probably won't be going for them. If they will, they'll also be missing, so you can almost bank on the fact that they'll miss, and you can just wait for the ball to come down. Then your opponent is way off course and he's out of the game, so just get a free shot on net. So yes, once again, just trying to get a little bit of control on the ball, trying to figure out where you want to be in relation to where I want the ball to go versus where my car is and where my car is going. Alright, so the rest of the replay, not much is going on. As you can see, there's a pretty big gap between the next goal, and yes, some of the beginner bots don't know what to do. They want to go left, they start turning left, but then they say, no, I can't go this way, I gotta go backward. And so they go backward, but they're also still turning left. And so they end up just going back, forward, back, forward, back, forward. So the computers aren't that difficult once you start learning a little bit about some mechanics, which is manipulating your car, manipulating the ball the way you want it to. And it all comes down to mechanics at some of the higher levels when the decisions that are made start all becoming very, very similar, if not identical, to the way some players play. Alright, so some of those things for beginners. Make sure that you know how to drive, and make sure you have a comfortable set of key bindings. That's the most important part about driving. I have switched my entire keybind set at least 3 times when playing, and I noticed each time I always started falling in rank because obviously it's new. My forward isn't forward anymore, my forward is jump or something else, and that was actually a decent aerial. Let's go back there. So once you get a comfortable key binding set, I'll go ahead and show you mine just after this replay is done. Then you'll be probably going into training for a little bit to figure that out and get more comfortable with it. But then once you do, you'll probably notice you're going to be better off than before. So here, didn't really position your car well for the takeoff, but once you jumped, then you tilted your car into the correct direction and happened to be just about on target. Notice you hit the ball on the right, so the ball careened to the left, right where the goal is. Good job. That's the kind of control you want to start to learn, not necessarily the aerial, but just in the way that you hit and position with the ball. Alrighty, and this is just an unfortunate kickoff. These happen from time to time. Just off the kickoff, it hits a wall and goes straight into a net. Sometimes yours, sometimes the opponent's. So the way to learn those kinds of kickoffs is where is the opponent going and where do I need to be to prevent that kind of kickoff. So sometimes it is just unfortunate. Other times, depending on how your opponent flips on their initial takeoff, you can actually predict what kind of kickoff they're going for, and you can entirely prevent it. Alright, and that's the end of this replay. So, To recap, make sure you're comfortable with your keybinds, and then just learn how to drive around. At this level, I wouldn't worry about power sliding too much, but once you start getting into silver and gold, power sliding to move is going to start becoming very important. And the other thing is locating the ball. Once you get higher end, you're going to want to get into ball cam mode very frequently, which, oh, these are all spectators. But nonetheless, toggle ball cam, focus on ball. You're going to be using that a lot to locate where the ball is and try and track the play. And you're going to be driving sometimes against the camera. So your car is going to be coming toward your camera because you're going away from the ball. So just learning how to not just drive around with your camera on your car, but also driving around with your camera on the ball. So that this way when the car is coming toward you, the directions are flipped. If you go upside down, the directions are flipped, and vice versa. Everything starts becoming really crazy. But once you get a little bit of mechanical prowess, it starts to become easier the more you do it. So these are my keybinds. I have boost on the right trigger because I need to be able to boost while doing a whole bunch of other stuff, which means I need a dedicated finger to just boost. Many players have their boost on the A button, but what I've noticed there is that when I'm trying to use boost, I'm also trying to use ball cam at times, I'm also trying to air roll, and I'm trying to jump. So I'm trying to use one finger for all four of these buttons to throttle boost, to throttle air roll, to time my jump, sometimes switch on and off the camera. It's too much for one finger to handle. So I just went and did boost on its own finger. Drive forward and back are the bumpers, or no, sorry, the triggers, and then boost and power slide are the bumpers. You'll notice I don't have air roll, and a lot of players would probably yell at me for not having regular air roll. They'd probably put it on the power slide air roll button. So this way you're on ground, you're power sliding, in the air, you're air rolling. And some players are very comfortable with that. I've noticed that some plays are just very difficult for me, but at the same time, I also make plays that most other players can't. Nonetheless, you want to find something that works for you. So focus on ball, air roll left and right. I'm never pressing both Y and A at the same time. So, I don't have a fat thumb, so it's not easy for me to do so, even if I wanted to. And if I wanted to, I also have jump, which is on B. So sometimes I want to jump while air rolling. And so I can't be pressing both Y and A and B at the same time. It's just not feasible for me. So I have Y and A, and this way my thumb can kind of just move to the left side and then move to the right side, and then whenever I need to, I just push my thumb up to punch X and things like that. Camera, I just have the right stick is everything with the camera, and then the left stick, I don't typically press in the left stick, so I don't have anything useful on it, but I do have use item and save replay and things like that, just a general L3 button. And then this is all my steering and air steering. So that's all of my keybinds. This is motion controls, by the way. I don't have that enabled, so just ignore that one. You can find something that's obviously good for yourself. Many players prefer to have air roll, either on like left bumper, or sometimes they'll have air roll on Y, and they won't have air roll left and right on their set, on their keybind set. So find something that works. Again, I did this about 3 times, and I'm finally at a place where I feel very comfortable just moving around with my car. So, this is just about a beginner series in Rocket League, and obviously they're going to be all over the place. I'm probably going to be doing coaching for plats and diamonds, then going back down to silvers and golds. And this is, of course, becoming a balanced player, so we're going to be discussing everything, not just becoming a better Rocket League player, but also better at all games. And if you like that prospect, then definitely consider coming back. We're going to have videos posted occasionally. I don't know what the schedule will be, but thanks for joining us this time, and I'll see you on the next vid.